The wind didn't howl, it screamed. It tore across the frozen ridge like something alive, ripping through snowdrifts and clawing at the edges of the world. Sergeant Lena Ainsworth hunched over the radio, the antenna trembling in her frozen hands. Static filled her headset, an endless wall of white noise. "Echo 1, this is Scout Team Delta," she called again. No reply. The signal was gone. Her breath came out in shallow clouds that froze instantly against her face. The temperature had dropped below -30. She could feel her eyelashes stiffen. Her gloves were soaked, the cold biting through the fabric and into bone. Behind her, 4 shapes staggered forward. Men wrapped in frostbitten uniforms, faces pale with exhaustion. They were supposed to have been back hours ago, a routine recon near the Kvitkollen Ridge, charting frozen terrain for NATO supply lines. But now, they were cut off, blind, and vanishing into the storm. Corporal Jensen shouted over the wind. "We're going in circles, Sergeant!" "Compass is dead. GPS too." Lena didn't answer. She pressed the compass to her chest, watching the needle jitter madly. The magnetic field here was erratic. Northern storms scrambled instruments. If she let panic in, they were finished. "Keep moving west," she ordered. "If we stop now, the wind buries us." Private Mills stumbled, his radio battery frozen solid. He looked barely conscious. She looped an arm around him, steadying his weight. Her own legs screamed with fatigue, but she didn't slow down. Every step forward was a fight, against gravity, against exhaustion, against fear. They had less than an hour before hypothermia took the weakest one, and Lena had promised herself that none of them would die in her watch. "Why are we still listening to her?" Jensen muttered when he thought she couldn't hear. "She's a comms tech, not a field leader." She heard. She always did. She said nothing, just kept walking, scanning the horizon through a white wall of snow. It wasn't pride that kept her silent. It was focus, because leadership wasn't shouting over the storm. It was listening through it. When the wind shifted, she caught it. A faint echo, not sound, but pattern, an uneven rhythm to the gusts. She turned slightly, calculating with instinct born from childhood in Alaskan wilderness. "Left flank," she ordered. "Follow the wind line." They obeyed. After 10 more minutes, a dark shape emerged through the storm. The edge of a ravine. The snow here was deeper, but the rock provided shelter from the gale. They slid down the slope, gasping for air, faces raw from windburn. It wasn't much, but it was life. Lena dropped to her knees and opened her pack. Inside, wrapped in fabric, was her modified signal relay unit. Small, custom, fragile. She'd built it herself during a previous tour. Everyone had laughed. Why carry extra weight for something that won't work in a storm? Now, it was their only hope. Her fingers were numb, barely responsive, as she connected cables, adjusted knobs, and set the antenna upright. She pressed the transmitter. "Echo 1, this is Scout Delta. 5 soldiers. Coordinates unknown. Storm interference heavy. Attempting relay beacon. Static. Then a flicker of life. Delta. Copy. Weak. Stay. Broadcasting." Her throat tightened. "Copy that, Echo 1. We're alive." For the first time in hours, there was a heartbeat on the other end of the silence. They barely had 5 minutes of relief before the mountain itself turned against them. It started as a low rumble, distant, uncertain. Then the sound deepened, grew until it filled the air, the ground, their chests, just in time to see the ridge above them collapse. "Avalanche! Down!" The world became white fire. Snow exploded in every direction, swallowing the light, the air, the sound. When she opened her eyes, she was half buried. Her headset was gone. The radio, somewhere under the snow. She dug herself free, lungs screaming for air. "Jensen! Alvarez!" she called. No answer. Then a faint sound, a glove breaking through ice. She crawled toward it, tearing through snow with bleeding hands until she uncovered a helmet. Then a face. "Don't move," she whispered, voice raw. "I've got you." She pulled one after another free, frostbitten, gasping, but alive. When she found the relay, its antenna was bent, but still intact. She pressed the button. The light flickered once, twice, then steadied. "Echo 1, we're still here," she whispered. "Copy, hold, rescue." Then the signal cut again. They couldn't stay there. The temperature was dropping fast, -40 and falling. Lena gathered what little fuel they had left, breaking open emergency flares. She made a small fire using her field manual as tinder, pages she'd memorized years ago. The others huddled close, silent. Mills finally spoke, voice cracking. "You think they'll find us, Sarge?" She looked into the fire, eyes reflecting orange. "They'll find us because I won't let them stop looking." At 300 hours, the wind shifted again. Lena pulled her hood tighter, checked the relay battery, 8%. She pulled a small device from her vest, her personal emergency beacon, one she'd designed off-book. It had never been tested in these conditions. She linked it to the main relay and whispered, "Don't fail me now." The light blinked weakly, then steadied. She kept talking into the mic, not for them, but for herself. Echo 1. This is Delta. We're alive. Visibility 0. Requesting vector. Over. No response. She tried again. The repetition became rhythm, her heartbeat, her anchor. Snow crept into the tent, freezing her boots solid. Her voice cracked, her hands trembled, but she didn't stop. By the time the light of dawn began to filter through the storm, her team was asleep, huddled against each other for warmth. She was still awake, still speaking. Echo 1, Delta team holding. 5 alive. At 4:32, the battery died. For a moment, the silence was absolute. Then she pulled the beacon's backup cell, the last one she had. She plugged it in. The light came back, dim but stubborn. Her tears froze on her face. Echo 1, Delta team. Still transmitting. A pause, then a voice, faint, fragmented, but real. Delta, we read you. Hold. Position. Extraction inbound. ETA 90 minutes. She exhaled a laugh that turned to a sob. They were going home. When the helicopter finally appeared through the thinning fog, the sun had risen, a ghostly orange ball through gray haze. The rotor wash blew snow into whirlwinds as medics jumped out, shouting coordinates. 5 survivors, one called. Vitals weak but stable. Lena stayed until the last man was lifted. When a medic reached for her arm, she shook her head. Get them first. Only when everyone else was aboard did she climb in, clutching the frozen relay to her chest. Inside, Jensen looked at her through the oxygen mask. You kept talking, he said weakly, even when the radio was dead. Lena smiled faintly. That's how you keep people alive. You don't stop talking. Back at base, the team was treated for frostbite and exposure. They would recover. The commanding officer called her in later that day. Her uniform was still damp from melting snow. You broke protocol using unauthorized equipment, he said. She nodded. Yes, sir. You also saved 4 lives because of it. He paused, then added quietly, Good work, Sergeant. She saluted. A week later, when she returned to the radio bay, someone had pinned a small note to the wall above her desk. Written in shaky handwriting. She didn't freeze. She carried us. She didn't know who wrote it. Jensen, Mills, maybe all of them. She just stared at it for a long time, then smiled. The paper fluttered in the breeze from the open window, the sound soft and steady, like static from a signal that never dies. Courage doesn't always shout over the storm.
Sometimes it's the quiet voice that refuses to go silent.